A special opportunity today. I'm working on a Toyota 950 that I was actually given because it's got some patterning issues. And if I can make it work, I can have it, and we can also learn how to arrange this. First thing I did is I discovered it's reading the card, but it was making mistakes. And the sponge bar seems to be the first logical place to go. This one has obviously been rebuilt. I can tell because there's tape residue down here. First glance, I thought, well, there's nothing bad wrong with that bar because on either end, there's a pretty good section. Obviously, the middle is not so good. And I thought at first that might be responsible for the whole trouble. But it's got a new bar in it now, and it's still doing the same thing. Let me show you. This is what it's been doing, and it's doing it only one direction. See, going right to left, it's selecting correctly, which means the reading mechanism has to be working. Left to right, there are errors, and the errors are evenly spaced. See how in this case they happen to be falling at each of these red marks. So we're continuing to troubleshoot. Something happens going one direction and not the other. We suspect the carriage, the underside of the carriage, having an issue. So I flip this one over and immediately I see an issue. Missing some teeth on this rubber wheel and fewer, but missing something over here as well. That is definitely going to cause a problem with knitting the more challenging stitches, such as tuck and lace. I'm doubting that it is causing the mispatterning, wrong selection of needles. What do you think, Jack?
No, we're seeing a path deficit in the carriage.
By path, he means all of these...
The needle butt path through the carriage.
Right. All of these things determine where the needle butt goes, and that determines how it behaves.
And one side's not the same as the other side. I'm sure when I sit down and look at it and do a little bit of flip testing, we're going to see what the problem is. But if it selects correctly in one direction, then the card selector mechanism's doing what it is supposed to do.
So we're going to spend a couple hours next manually flipping and checking for mirror image symmetry, and that's tedious. Also, you are not only checking to see if something's frozen, but if something is working but more slowly than it should. That's why it takes so long. So we'll get back to you. I found it, but we have to ask Jack. Of the two of us, I have some mechanical ability. He has a lifetime of experience, so he wins. See what's happening there? It moves this part, which immediately flips back into position. This is not happening. Oops, you can't see me. I blocked it. This is not responding to this flipper in the same way. Let me try my hand in another position still. There, that's better. See, it's not automatically coming back where it belongs.
Show him the other one again. Yeah, it's clear.
There's a complete response here.
Right, the two are connected.
The other two are plainly disconnected. But if these two are connected on the right, they should be on the left. And I'm going to guess out loud, are we looking for a detached, missing, or broken spring?
Best guess could be the tang end misplaced, but I'll go in there. I'll fix that.
All righty.
All right, this is the one that is working. And if the camera can get in there, you can see the spring attached to the head of that lever.
Yes.
It's also attached, you can't see underneath, but to the other end of the spring is attached to this lever, which is what controlled by your selector.
Okay.
So here's its opposite lever coming underneath. Of course, a mechanism that nobody wants to take out.
Of course.
But here's the spring, and you can see it's a little stretched and distorted, but there's its curved head, so it's still usable.
And it had come loose.
It has popped off. What I'm going to need to do is get this mechanism out of there, which of course is a spring-loaded set of arms and levers.
So putting it back will be loads of fun.
Right. And we'll go ahead and film that when I go to put it back together.
Since we're in here, we might as well.
But you see, this is what you've got. These little spring-loaded heads, when you move the selector, puts them in a different position, and then they are allowed to move freely or they're trapped. That's exactly what we've got here. In this selection, it's being pulled to the forward part of the machine all the time. So when the needle butt goes through, it slips through and it goes right back. This one, it slips through and it stays right where it's at. And we'll correct that.
And of course, it needs correcting. That doesn't guarantee it's our only problem. We may have to keep going.
That's right, but we're going to start here, and of course, when I go in, I'll clean as I go. Here we go. Here's the good one right here, and we've exposed the bad one. And this is the problem. It's got no control to hold it. And this is our spring. Now, this spring is distorted. I'm going to do my rob off from another machine thing. It's the length and the tension that matters. But you can see the spring should attach from here to here. Now, Catherine asked, why did it rhythmically miss on the bed?
Right. See, it was mostly selecting correctly.
Right.
And now we've distorted down here. But this is what it was doing, is
in a spot.
One spot, and then it would repeat it. It repeated it here.
Right.
And here.
Right.
And it looks as though, I said it's like there's a 24 cog something and it's missing, 24 tooth cog and it's missing a tooth.
Right.
Which is, of course, something that could happen theoretically in a machine, but it isn't happening here.
And let's see what we're talking about here. One movement, another movement. Two finite movements on that spring tension. But look what happens here. It'll chatter back and forth. It won't stay in any one position. So what's happening is the needle mutt hits it, it bounces. And that's what it was doing, was as you brrr, it was rhythmically bouncing across there. And every so often missing. Because if you'll notice, it'll bounce
So some
slightly.
of the time it was correctly positioned.
Right. But see, it was doing this.
And it actually, the speed of the miss may have depended on the speed of my pass.
Yeah. If you'd have went faster, it may have missed more or less. Slower, more or less, because it was a matter of how freely this was moving.
Totally.
Yeah, here I can use my magnet to do it.
Impossible to guess what it would do.
See, this is what it was doing. Tick, 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 tick.
And some
which
of the
is what
time,
it's supposed to do, but
within a controlled
right.
range.
Listen to that.
Right.
It should have done that every needle butt. This one couldn't do that every needle butt, so it was getting the first few and then staying out of the way and then coming back and getting a few. And all right, this has removed the offending spring, and as you see, if I had to, I could make that work. There's ways to realign and re-strengthen, but we went into an old brother carriage, and off of either side of the button assembly is this little push-me-pull-me spring. And here I'll just show you. It's a little stronger than the one we had, but it's a little longer. So it's going to make the trip just fine, just about that much.
Worth a
tension.
try anyhow.
Yeah, we really just want it to stay snugged up, but let the needle butts through. I think this will work. If you'll notice, our new one is slightly bigger around than our old one. So if space were a concern, we'd have to worry about that. But here's what I'm concerned about. Look at the size of the end holes. They're almost exactly the same. So they'll hold to the clips like they're supposed to.
So we won't really know till we put it in. Does it A, fit nicely into the space, and B, withdraw the lever correctly, but we have to try.
Here we go.
Jack actually has the spring back in position and working, and he's discovered something interesting.
Here's the good one.
That's
nice,
the one that was working all along.
Right, nice smooth movement. Now come over here to this side. We know there's a spring on there, but this one sticks. Now we see why the spring distorted and popped off to begin with. So, as you said, we found a problem. Did we find the problem? And I'm going to try to sneak in here and get the end of this spring and pull it out just enough so you can see it on my hook.
Yep, we see it.
All right, that spring is wound around this screw post. And what we've got is a little bit of corrosion between the flipper, and the screw post.
So even though, and I'm going to tell you, the person that had this before me did quite a nice job of cleaning, and you're not seeing much crud. Everywhere you can see it, she saw it and took it out.
That's right.
But there still sometimes are these little pockets, because we don't know its history before she had it. It could have been stored in a barn.
Well, and I will tell the friends, this is why I really like that Marvel Mystery Oil Soak, because it'll sit there and creep between these parts. Now, you see, right there we have a good movement. But if it moves fully, it sticks. It sticks.
Yeah.
And it'll pop the spring off, because what'll happen is this isn't where it should be over here, and something will come this way in another operation, ka-smash-o. But what we're going to do is we're going to try and use some LPS1 to wash it, and some silicone behind that, and we should be ready.
My feeling is, let's do that. Let's see if we've solved the problem. Let me knit a little, and then I'd be in favor if there's room in the bath for this to get its turn.
Not a problem. All right. First, I'm going to show you what we did, and then I'll show you what results we got. Now, what we had was this little post. Every time it came over into the full extended position, it would hang up between this post and lever.
Even with our new spring on it?
Even with our new spring on it. Now, one of two things. Spring was too strong. We knew it was a little stronger. Or something else was going on here. We suspected lubrication. We took care of that. Now, here's what else we did. We stuck the screwdriver in to hold the lever away from the boss. Then I took my nice round file here, and you can see it coming through.
Yeah, we sure can.
Where I took some burrs off of the little curved area where that post rests when it's in its extended position. Now, here's what we've got. Extra finger. Post comes forward, pushes lever. Oh, come on now, behave yourself. Full extension, pops right back.
Ah, yes.
All right, now, what else I had to do was this. I had to look at the clearance between the surface of the carriage base and this lever, because the angle at which this swings makes a big difference. All right, and what I had to do was come underneath here and lift this piece up just a little bit so that there was an angle.
What exactly did you lift up?
All right, this piece right here, where the end of that long lever where we put our spring.
So you actually changed something on the machine itself slightly.
Yes. I changed well, here, let me flip it over and see if I can show you. Here's that lever passing along the surface of the machine right here. Let me get my little screwdriver in there. All right, see, there's the lever, and it's riding on the surface of the bed here. All right, on this end where it comes through to hold the spring, I changed the position it has with the bed.
Okay.
Because
we'll see how it works.
Because it has to be able to pop right back.
It's popping
the minute the needle butt moves.
So the proof will
and
be
this
in
was
knitting.
our problem, was when this was fully extended over here, it wanted to hang up. And that problem is gone. Took a little doing.
Now, was the first spring the right spring?
The first spring was not the right spring, and so I put another one in. And here's what I did. Let me see if I can do it without my big fat fingers in the way. All right. We moved the spring to an extended position. Then we take the flat screwdriver and we purposefully go between the coils and very carefully stretch the string. Right. Now you'll notice I made a little gap right there and another gap right there. But what we've done is weaken the spring.
And that's what you wanted to make it match
to more match this one.
So when you cannot find the perfect one, sometimes you must improvise.
Right. Now, what I did was found one that was a little shorter than the original substitute and a little smaller in diameter. Remember, we showed you the one that I pulled off. It was bigger. And I'm going to continue to stretch this spring a little bit at a time. One coil, stretch, next coil, stretch, till I get it to feel just about like the one that we're replacing. And that's just what you have to do, because there's not an exact replacement available. You could order one, but that might get real expensive.
So it's simple, but no one said it was exactly easy.
Right. Here we go, the fun part, reassemble. Now we pulled this plate off this way, and first of all, let me point out that this spring actually goes underneath this tang, so you have to slip it on and slide it over in order to line up our screw holes here. So when you can't just lift it off. These are things to look for. Now our arm fell off, but we can put it right back on.
My arm fell off.
Your arm fell off. It goes in here. That's its control. It's posted right there into that hole. But here's what to look for. We pulled the ominous circlip off to free this, and you can see there's a circlip on this post for the arm on the other side. However, notice the markings right here, and you might think, okay, that's where it's pivoted on this. I'm going to put it here so it's easier to see, on this circlip. But what you might not miss is this extremely thin machinery washer.
You mean they might miss it?
Right. And you see, if it's sitting on there,
it really just looks like a stain.
It looks like the stain itself. And most of the time, that's what they'll do, is they'll stick. And you saw the way the arm fell off, but suppose we very carefully, we slide it over, we take it off.
I'm catching up to you.
And this falls off in the process. Well, there it lies on our little gray piece of fabric. It is so thin. You can
barely see it.
It's so thin and so light, a strong breeze would move it away.
They also tend to get stuck on the magnets in the machine, and you can't find them.
Exactly. I quite often keep a little magnet around for that reason. I'll stick these guys to it.
You're going too fast for me. There you go.
I'll stick these guys to it, lay it to one side, and then I know this is what came off my lockdown post.
Okay, let me come back over here.
Okay, now we're going to reassemble this very carefully. Here's the other thing to look for. This piece moves. All right? And what it is again, it's a machinery shim to space this cover a certain distance from the post that it's holding it down. And you'll notice there's one on this side performing the same function. I point these things out to you. Observation is your best friend when you're taking these apart, putting them back together. Both sides are pretty much going to be very similar to one another. So this gets moved around like it is now. Oh my goodness, what is supposed to go on here? Well, let's try to get it back into the position similar to this one. And then we see we've exposed our screw hole. So if our little screwdriver goes in and lines it up, we very carefully...
And so should the screw.
Yeah, we go in very carefully, put this back on without disturbing it. We're good to go. So we'll see you on the other side when we go to test again.
Notice anything?
Well, these end guys, one's forward one pass, and then the other guy's forward on the other pass.
And that's what they should be doing based on this card. Oh, this is very wonderful.
And we, of course, have siliconed it up so that it has a nice, smooth feel to it. Oh, you're going to like this one.
I am.
We will do you a deep soak and polish. Put the carnauba wax on the hood. And
no, he's teasing about that.
Yeah, if it was a 56 Chevy, you would.
But I'm the 56 Chevy.
Oh, okay.
Happy news. Got a good tuck swatch, the wider one nearer to us, and a good slip swatch. And I'm going to stop now, and we're going to put this in for a deep soak before I try Fair Isle and Lace, which are both a little more challenging, because we still sensed a bit of stiffness, and there is such an easy cure waiting for it. We're going to go ahead with it. However, the patterning is working perfectly. Thank you, Meg.